Mark Lawther. Happy New Year to you.
Might be. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Thanks for coming on the show. We've known each other obviously a long time, and it through different ways. Because obviously for you, I met you because you actually helped us move into our first ever office at Big Box Advertising when we launched a company at Cornwall Innovation.
And I think you were my first sale.
Really?
I think so. Yes, yeah, wow. It was 2017. So yeah,
it was,
you were my first sale.
Wow.
Hard work.
It's bloody hard work, actually, and I apologise for that. But obviously now you're of the Kernow Travel Company.
I am. Back to my roots.
You're obviously a fantastic client of Big Box Advertising. You're working with us this year, which I'm really pleased about. Yeah. So I want to get into this because in the last episode I talked to Amy Smith from Cornwall Airport Newquay about. Yeah. She is fantastic, and the really good feedback we've had from that interview actually. But I want to get in and talk to you more as how would you class yourself? Travel operator?
I class myself as many things. Probably a tour operator is the closest thing because I'm not a travel agent.
No.
So I don't just say, someone comes to me and says, I want to go wherever, and I say, there's a brochure, what do you want to do? I actually bespoke, make and tailor-make what people want to do.
See, I listen to you. I'm aware of what you do. So this is why I didn't say call you a travel agent.
No, see, I do. I get all prickly when people call me a travel agent.
Exactly. There we go. I do listen to it. So I'm going to start 15 minutes on the clock now, and I'm going to talk to you about marketing in your industry and how, as a tour operator, you go about doing that. So tell me where Kernow Travel. Let's start at the beginning. Where did you start?
I started. My background is airlines.
Yeah.
So I used to be an account manager, national, corporate, multinational for United Airlines, the big American carrier. So I used to manage companies like American Express, McDonald's for them. And moved down here to Cornwall to do something completely different, which didn't pan out. Ended up working for Emirates for a couple of years.
Wow.
And while I was at Emirates, my remit was to try and drive traffic on what was then Flybe onto the Emirates network globally and basically enable people to travel from Cornwall to the world.
So connect them. So if they live in Cornwall, they fly from Newquay to what?
Gatwick. It was Gatwick at the time, and then on to Dubai, and then you can go wherever from there, which I think is a brilliant message.
Huge.
But it's a message that people didn't really know they could do. So when I left Emirates, I thought I'm going to go on my own, and I sort of did it part-time for a number of years. As you say, I ended up working with Cornwall Innovation Centres for a few years just to keep things keep food on the table.
And a bloody good job you did as well.
Well, clearly not too bad. You're still there for 5 years. 5 years.
5 years in October it is, believe it or not. Yeah, I know.
And so I kept Kernow Travel Company sort of developing and growing in the background. But then in January 2020, I think it was, I thought I'm just going to go, really relaunch Kernow Travel in a big way. Timed that one well because literally 2 months later, Flybe had gone bust and the whole world went into lockdown. But I've kept it going and kept marketing, kept it going, kept it sort of bubbling away in the background because we all know that travel will rebound at some point.
And we were talking about that with Amy as well. There's always there's a massive pent up,
it's huge
kind of desire to travel, and that will hit at some point without doubt.
Absolutely.
I want to take it back because one of the questions that I want to ask you is, what is the benefit of that connectivity, and why should people call you rather than just book through their airline?
There's a number of benefits. I mean, at the moment, for example, so I'm featuring an awful lot of new Cornwall to New York stuff, and when you're doing it all on one airline, all on one ticket. On a lot of destinations, you check your bags in at Cornwall, and those bags will go all the way through to your final destination. Slightly different on the New York thing at the moment because that's where Aer Lingus through Dublin, and there you do immigration and stuff in Dublin, so you pick your bags up there. But so a lot of the time, certainly on what was Flybe, and hopefully we're going to get there with Eastern Airways at some point in the future, there's going to be that sort of ability to check your bags through. But it's also just by doing it all on one ticket where possible, you're taking out, you're mitigating any problems with connections.
Yeah.
So if there's a problem with the connection, if you've got it all on one ticket, the airlines will sort it out between themselves. Whereas actually, if you
don't have to buy another plane. Sky had that a few years ago. Connectivity into Europe. I missed my second flight, and because I didn't do what you'd said and actually book it directly from this end through someone like you, I obviously had to pay a fairly largeable sum of money to buy a later flight because I missed the first one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a minefield. I always say, travel's a great is a great one for people. Yeah, people book it on the internet and stuff like that. But I always say, and I probably said this to you before, the internet is only as good as the questions you ask it. And if you don't ask the right questions, you will never, ever get the right answers.
You get what you pay for as well, is a huge, I think, thing. I mean, I was talking about this. Funnily enough, we had Cornwall car chargers in to the Cornwall Channel Studios earlier today. Brilliant people. I'll certainly do an introduction at some point. But they were talking about one of their selling points mainly being kind of customer service and how you look after your customers. And I know that's a huge thing for you. At Kernow Travel.
Absolutely. I think I'm in a quite unique position because the interesting thing, the through connectivity at the moment is a bit patchy because we've got Eastern Airways going up through Gatwick at the moment, and they don't quite have the airline agreements with the bigger carriers at the moment to really make that work, whereas the Aer Lingus stuff to America works. So that's also kind of still evolving.
Yep.
But the one thing, I'm in quite a unique position, and I work very closely with the airport because of my background with airlines and tour operators. I've got a really broad cross-section of experience within the industry.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what people buy from me a lot as well. It's just the ability to, I mean, we've had conversations in the past. You know, I'm like the Duracell bunny. You sort of wind me up, ask me a question, and bang, off I go. Because there's actually so much more to it than people think.
Yeah, there is. And I think going back to marketing, actually travel over the years has been made to appear to be very, very simple in the way it works through very, very clever marketing. Yeah. And it should be, because the end user should feel like it's easy for them to book a holiday. But I think they don't now understand the complexity of it, and this is where you come in, because you sort that all out, and you actually do make the end product that you're offering your customer easy for them to book, and you're easy to work with, and you sort all that problem out. So I want to talk about marketing now.
Yes.
Because obviously we talked a little bit about what you do. It's an important part of your business, right? Because you've got some pretty big competitors, I mean, internationally. Yeah. So as an independent local company, how do you go about tackling that?
Because I'm local, I really do focus on the local market in Cornwall as much as I possibly can. And because travel is starting to rebound a little bit and starting to come through, that's getting a little bit more easier to do. It's been a bit tricky over the last couple of years with less product. But, you know, absolutely focus on Cornwall, focus on Devon.
Do you get many people come from Devon out of interest?
Our catchment area probably goes in as far as, it depends where it's going to really, but it probably goes out about as far as Exeter.
Oh wow. Do you do much for extra airport for people?
I can do. I haven't really, it's something I will tap into again when travel starts to rebound a little bit. Exeter, I don't partner with quite as much as I do with Cornwall Airport Newquay and Amy and the guys there. But absolutely, there's the potential there. Because I am an operator rather than an agent, I've got my own ATOL license. I can do whatever I can do.
And congratulations on that as well, by the way.
It's really cool.
You got that last year?
I got that last year. Yeah, and that was quite a chunky investment.
I was going to say, yeah. What's involved in that then?
Quite a long application process, because you've got to sort of go through all sort of tick boxes and criteria to meet CAA standards, so that you can actually effectively then sell and create these bespoke packages for people. And going back to the marketing, promoting myself locally, the ATOL has been a really, really significant part, because it's a unique selling point. You know, at the end of the day, I've got my own ATOL license. I can create individual stuff that people want rather than having to go through another tour operator. I am that operator. So that's really important in my messaging when I stick stuff out. Social media is probably my main avenue at the moment.
And you're really active on there as well. I've noticed that. And the stuff that you put out is great. I mean, I know you work with a partner on it as well, which we know very well, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the packages that you've put together in the past have been, I've looked at and I've gone, wow, that's... You'd expect that from people like TUI and stuff like that, but some of the packages you've put together for people, especially, and you did about stuff around Portugal and Spain, didn't you, last year? They're really competitive prices.
Absolutely, and it's, you know, I use social media to show the art of the possible. You know, and again, it comes back to, you know, if you don't know you can do it, then people don't think to.
There's a lot of variables, obviously, with holidays and packages, but to give people, is that kind of your marketing idea with your messaging there, with giving people ideas and snippets of, you could have this holiday for 4 people on this date in this location?
What I've realised and learnt from a marketing perspective is, if I put too much detail in, and when I'm then promoting, say, a trip to, say I'm promoting a golf weekend to Portugal from Cornwall Airport Newquay, if I put too much detail in around the dates, people can't go then, so it's no good for me. But if I just promote golf weekends from Cornwall Airport Newquay, that's what engenders the feedback. That's what engenders the responses, because people then get in touch and they say, well, when is this trip for? And then I can say, well, actually, when do you want to go? And that creates the conversation. So what I've learned, and it has all been a marketing process, what I've learned is not to give too much information, but as I say, just to try and push the art of the possible and show people, look what you can do from here. Come and talk to me, and we will create. I'm starting to use the expression "travel made beautiful."
That's a really good expression.
Because that's just what it is. I'm literally making the travel beautiful for that individual, because what works for one person won't necessarily work for someone else, and everyone will want something different.
I mean, some people, for me, if I'm completely honest, I do travel out of Cornwall Airport Newquay for work and things like that, and I have done before. And I have done a couple of times for kind of holidays and things like that. But I suppose I don't necessarily mind if I'm on my own driving to Heathrow or Gatwick and spending 5 hours in the car, because I actually quite like driving. And, a bit of peace and quiet if I'm on my own, for sure, especially with 2 kids at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if those kids are with me, do I want to spend 5 hours in a car for 5 hours? Yeah, this is the point. I think moving forward, I'm going to be chatting to people. Obviously, I'll chat to you because I know you, but I'm going to be working with people more like you, because I think, if you've got kids, you want it to be easy. You want it to be convenient. And travelling from Newquay and having the whole trip planned to my needs and my family's needs by somebody like yourself is really important.
Absolutely. And, and that there's 2 things in there. 100%. Everyone needs what they want to create for themselves that works best for themselves. So that makes perfect sense. And, you look at, the selling points for Newquay Airport and stuff like that. And, I live in mid Cornwall. I think you're Truro away, aren't you? It takes me 20 minutes to get from my house to the airport.
My parents are happier to drop me and the family to the airport,
absolutely.
But not necessarily Heathrow. So that's another selling point.
It is. I mean, how many? You don't. Amy probably won't thank me for saying this, but you can get people to drop you off at the airport for a bottle of wine or a couple of beers, or you do the same for them, because it's invariably 20 minutes, half an hour trip. Your check-in time at Cornwall Airport Newquay is almost invariably not going to be any more than an hour ever.
I've always whizzed through there pretty quickly, actually.
You do, especially if you're going up to Gatwick. When Eastern Airways and the connectivity comes through with their agreements with other airlines, that you're still checking in for a domestic flight, even though you might have a long haul destination. So your check-in is still only going to be sort of 40 minutes. So I could be on a flight that leaves Newquay Airport at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I won't be leaving my house till probably somewhere between 5:30 and 5:45. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Whereas, and I say this to people, if we do a lot of Florida. If you're going to go fly from Gatwick to Florida, the flight leaves Gatwick at 11 o'clock in the morning. You either leave Cornwall the day before, if you're going out by car and you jump in a hotel, or you leave about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas again, when the connecting flights all come through, you're going to jump on that 7 o'clock, so you're not going to leave till 5:30, 6 in the morning. It's just so easy. And when you've got family, when you've got kids. So
how have you... Going back to marketing again, how have you realised that this is what your customers... Do you survey them?
I don't survey them. I probably should.
Bit of a hint and tip.
Yeah,
there,
absolutely. I was watching your eyebrows go. I think again it comes back to what I was saying. People, it's been quite interesting, because I've been developing a market that existed, which I know exists because it's common sense, but it doesn't. That market doesn't know it exists, because most people aren't aware of what they can do in travel.
That's true.
And
it's very crowded noise as well from a marketing point of view. You've always got... the last couple of years, I suppose, not so much, because you haven't got TUI and all of the online companies throwing holidays at you and ads as much as it used to be. And I suppose that's an opportunity for you as well.
It's been good for me because it has created space.
Yeah.
And I can get my messaging out, art of the possible, look at what you can do, come and talk to me.
Has it very much been trial and error getting your messaging right? Or have you, I know now you work with Susie, who's great.
Yeah.
And I know she's obviously works quite heavily on your messaging with you as well, which is fantastic stuff. But, I think moving forward, you're in a really strong position to tap into that market with the messaging you've got through trial and error. Is that right?
Absolutely, and that's exactly what it is. And we're still working on that trial and error until we get it. Whether we ever get it completely right, I don't know. And I think
it always changes, doesn't it?
And this is it. Yeah. It's a constantly evolving, because by definition, I offer a bespoke, concierge, tailor-made service. The messaging is always going to be slightly tinkered.
It's reactive as well sometimes. Yeah, actually, that's been a lot of the themes from some of these podcasts that I've done, is being reactive with your messaging and being prepared to change it to change with the times.
Yeah.
And I know you've been very, very good at that. I've seen a lot of the stuff. But kind of moving on slightly, obviously, based on the knowledge you've picked up on marketing and the success that you've had with Kernow Travel, even during a really hard time, and I'm not going to make this about COVID because me and Amy talked about COVID a hell of a lot. But it's really relevant at the time. But I think for you, moving forward, I think we are now looking forward rather than backwards. What hints and tips could you give another company, not maybe similar to yours, but a company that maybe is looking to tap into a local market?
I think, for me, the biggest thing I've learned, and probably the biggest hint and tip from a marketing perspective that I've picked up on, is just the worst thing you can do when business is quiet is to stop shouting.
Agreed.
I think the most important thing, sales, marketing, it's one of the key things you have to learn. Don't stop marketing just because the business might be getting... In fact, now's a great time. We've talked about space.
Yeah.
Now's a great time to make your voice heard so that actually when people are in a position to give you business, they've always got you in their sights because you've constantly remained in their thoughts.
We talked about this actually the other day, and last year, we did quite a long webinar and blog, which was titled "When Times Are Good, You Should Advertise. When Times Are Bad, You Must Advertise." We won an award for that. I'm not going to, praise myself, but but companies did listen, and the ones that we gave a load of examples within that of companies that kind of, did better as a result of spending more during times of crisis throughout history. And clearly, you've got that. You've nailed it. You've got it on the head.
Absolutely. And now, hopefully, we're coming out of time. We're coming out of it. And then, hopefully, we'll start to see the benefits. And I am starting to see it already.
And it's fantastic, man. I wish you the best luck.
Thank
you so much for coming on 15 Minute
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No,
it's an honour.
And always, sir.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.